Hello, everyone. Welcome to Simulation Talk 210. Indeed, don't forget to like. Thank you so much, Guru Augie. Charlie, how are you, brother? Chris. John Green is in the house. Chris was here first. So good to see you guys. Welcome to Simulation Talk 210. I'm going to slowly wait for some people to arrive on TikTok. Greg, how are you, my brother? So good to hear from you. Power Off is here. Mary is the first one in the house. How are you, Mary? On TikTok. JH. Great turn up today. Evil Icon is here. If anybody wants to join, thank you so much. Anybody wants to join through Twitch, it's LaserX83. Soon I'm going to start needing to figure out how to figure out Twitch. I think OBS is now due. So this is something that I'll be doing, figuring out soon, and maybe we'll do some games through there. That can be cool. John is saying, don't know if this has already been asked. Charlie's are on both sides of the wall. Yeah, I have tried it, and no, you cannot see through it. That would be kind of amazing. I do think that what we're looking at is some kind of another spatial dimension, so to speak, or a reflection of it. Caught you in all the other platform notifications, so that's good. You mean you saw all the notifications from all the other platforms, Evil Icon? Well, I'm glad that you hopped on. Where's home, by the way? James is in the house. How are you? Same name. Good to see you. Adam Mankila or Mansilla? No updates on the console just yet. Syracuse, New York. Cool. I'm working on alternative ways of consuming the molecule in a way that doesn't mess up my system. Because recently has been doing that, so we kind of I have to take a step back from it. What's up, Adam? Where was that you went on vacation that looked so beautiful? Oh, that was in it was beautiful. It's Lake Powell, which is between Arizona and Utah. And it's such an incredible place. It's just unbelievable. Carmelo, how are you, my brother? So good to see you. PDX, how are you doing? Made a laser based on your laser explanation video, but the beam is very dim. Even if so right. So the volts is different than the milliwatts, right? How many milliwatts output is it? Also, you're not supposed to have it shouldn't be that bright. What you see on the camera, it just appears that way. So the camera really amplifies the way it looks. In reality, all the beams look a lot dimmer than what they look on camera. Maybe I'm being pushed to try intravenously. It's very plausible, yes. Just hemp. Yeah, no, it's not so much the issue. Like, I can do just the powder, but there's something there that is trying to tell me to do it in a different way. I'm not really quite sure. Almost like it's trying to teach me how to do it naturally. It might be one of the possibilities. Yeah, Arizona and Utah. So it's right when it transforms between Arizona and Utah. Right on the cusp. 5 milliwatts laser. Yeah, I think it has to do with the fact that you expect it to be much brighter, Charlie. than what it really is. On camera, if you shoot your own laser on camera, you'll see it looks way brighter than what it looks for your naked eye. It was very informative last night. Talking about the quaternions. I can never pronounce that word, but yeah, it was a great little members live. Hopefully, we'll have more people join in our next members live next week. Come join our membership program on YouTube on Dengo Thoughts. We're doing these breakdowns, and one second. I'm checking something. Cool. Thank you, Evil Icon. I appreciate you. Top Truth Seeker. Is the double slit experiment problem solved? Not sure what you mean by solved. You mean explained in terms of what is the wave function? Is that what you mean? I was drawn to use a volcano vaporizer, but haven't because available issue. Don't want to waste it. Is there any difference with making the beam wider, or do you need it focused? No, yeah, the wider the better, as long as you don't lose the. It has to be diffracted, just to be clear. A diffraction is a very particular kind of lens that takes into account the distances of the frequency of that light. So the distances of the slits in the diffraction lens would be tailor suited to the light that is being emanated. So 650 nanometer diffracted lens would look different and would be different from 540 nanometer light, and so on. So that's very important. Other than that, if you can make it the wider, the better. What happens when you have two people looking at the opposite sheet on paper? Yeah, you don't see anything different, which leads me to believe that you're actually seeing some kind of an alternate space. So no, the short answer to the truth seeker is that no, it is not resolved as to what the wave function actually is. But it's a good question. Ebony, how are you? Good to see you. Amazing, Evil Icon. Good to have you with us. Also, if anybody wants to come on the chat on TikTok, there's no problem at all. I see that Jay is trying to come on. If you can just drop a subject matter in the chat so I know what we're going to talk about, and then I can bring you on. Yep. Simulation story. Okay, I'll bring you on in a moment. Let me see. Mentally Evolved saying something. So just so you know, all I see is a message from you saying, I take that as a no. That's all I see. I don't see any messages before that, so I'm not really sure if you texted something before, but I have not seen what you said before if you said something. What's up, Blue Rooster? I was immersed with the molecule a while back and also Aya. I've traveled the spiritual aspect of the story, but I've come to many similar ways of thinking as yourself. Laser thing is huge to me. Amazing, PDX. I'm glad to hear that. Anything by Gallimore I would recommend. Yeah, his books are great. Both, well, I haven't read the third one yet because it's not out yet. I don't doubt it's going to be great. But the first two are great, both alien information theory and reality switch technologies are great. The depending what you want to do. If you want to be educated a little bit more about what the molecule is and why it's unique and how the basics of what we understand about neuroscience outline why it's so unique, then Reality Switch Technologies would be your book. But the first book, Alien Information Theory, is also great because it also teaches you a lot about computation, theoretical computation, and how it might tie to the larger, postulated reality. They're both very well written. So let's see. How are you, Jay?
Not too bad, man. How's your night going?
It is going pretty sweet. I'm glad to hear yours is going pretty well. Are you guys on YouTube can hear this, by the way? Okay, go ahead.
Check to YouTube.
There we go.
I'll wait till you get the okay for my what I was gonna say.
Sure. Yeah, they can hear you. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I saw what you were talking about, or what it welcomes you in on with the simulation, and I have the wildest experience in my life. This one story that, above any other story I could tell you, proves to me that we're in a simulation.
All right, shoot.
So keep this short because I could stretch it out into a long story. I won't. I share the same first and last name with only one other individual in the entire country, right? So just keep that in mind for this story.
Wait, you share the what? Sorry?
The same first and last name.
Yeah.
Has only one other person in the entire United States, right?
Okay.
That's it. And so one day, this is back in maybe like 2016, that previous summer, I was addicted to XANAX.
Okay.
And the things that started coming around were fake, and I wasn't trying to do fake things. So I said, this is embarrassing to admit, but it's the story. And I was hanging out with my girlfriend, and I said, I really want these, and I can't find them. Can you ask your girlfriend if she has something? Her girlfriend said, I got something similar, and I got a whole month's worth. How much does he want? I said, well, shit, I'll take the whole month's worth. I'm going to change the word that's XANAX into bananas for story's sake, just so I stop spelling it.
There we go.
So I said, all right, I'll take the month's worth. And then, like a dramatic little girl, I said, I just want a month's worth of bananas. And I smacked my hand off my thing. I was frustrated. I didn't have a prescription, health insurance, all that. I immediately get a text message. Before I can finish, I swear to God on everything, dude. Before I can finish smacking my leg, I get a text. I open it up. It's a text from Walgreens. Justin, your prescription's ready to be picked up. Click the link for more details. I had previous texts in the thread from them from like a year prior. So I'm like, okay, this isn't scam. This is really them. So I click on the link. I shit you not, dude, 30 minutes from where I was at for a month's worth of bananas in my first and last name. And I'm like, get the out of here, dude. My girlfriend was freaking out. I've had things like similar happen to me in life. So I freaked out too, don't get me wrong, but she was like losing her mind over it. But I ended up calling Walgreens corporate because I thought someone was trying to fill scheduled things in my name. I'm like, there's no way this is the one other Justin in the whole country. I've never even found the dude online. He barely exists. I call corporate. I talked to the dude on the phone, basically told him the whole story aside from the simulation part. And that I wanted them, I wasn't gonna. But I'm like, who is this person that's trying to fill this in my name? Can you please get to the bottom of it? He looks into it. He goes, oh my God. He starts talking to himself. I go, what? He goes, I've never seen this before. I'm like, what? Because this is the prescription for the one other Justin. And yeah, you guys happen to also live in the same city. So I'm like, dude, we got the same name, the only two, and we live in the same city and the same prescription. I'm like, dude, I know you can't tell me because of HIPAA laws. He's totally invested, right? He's gone from customer service voice to bro voice at this point with the whole crazy story. Because it's longer than this is the nutshell version. And so I said, I know you can't give me dates because of HIPAA laws, but I am just so curious. Do me and this guy have similar birthdays? He said, yeah, what's yours? I tell him, July 5th. He goes, yeah, let me look. And then he gets in there and he goes, yeah, really close. I go, what, like the same month? He goes, dude, like total bro voice, dude, I can't give you a date, but try within the same couple of days.
Whoa,
Like insinuating we have the same birthday as well.
that's crazy.
That's a whole nother story who this other Justin is. But for the simulation theory, that prescription thing that happened was the most mind-blowing thing I think that's ever happened to me in my life.
I mean, that's mind-blowing without a doubt. And even if you would have a much more common, I mean, Justin is a pretty common name, but probably the last name is the one that you're talking about that's rare. But even it doesn't really matter. I mean, even if you would have many names like that, the chances of that happening exactly in that order and you getting that text message right after you slammed your hand on the table, that's kind of wild.
Dude, it was crazy, man. And the last name, I'll tell you, like, it's not that rare. It's pretty rare in the grand scheme of things. But I mean, there's towns that have my name.
Right, but you said, how do you know that there's only? By the way, just it doesn't really matter. But how do you know that there's only one more person like that in the country?
I found that out in 2014. There was this website you used to be able to go to. There's a lot of fake ones nowadays, but there was a website you could go to and type in your first and last name, and it would tell you how many people in the country you share your name with. So me and my cousin and all his buddies were just shooting the shit one night, typing our names in for shits and giggles, and I said, let me do mine. And the number came back as 2, me being included. So I'm like, there's only one other me. And I went looking everywhere online for this dude. I mean, for like every single social media or way you could think you could find someone.
Somebody
doesn't exist.
Somebody on YouTube said, I'm that banana guy. And then he said, my name is Bill Gates.
Hey, I can show you a picture of him if you want to see it. I actually, because this is a 10-year-long story that you got one day of.
Yeah. A picture of what?
The other me is 10 years in the making from when I found out he existed to when I figured out who he was. I had to pull his yearbook pictures to figure out who this dude was. I went to his town library and pulled his yearbook photos. Dude, this story is crazy. I mean, it's a long thing, so I won't draw it out and tell you the whole thing. But if I told you everything with me and this other Justin.
Oh, you just disappeared on me. Yeah, you just disappeared on us, and then I think now you're back.
Yeah, I was just. This is the other me. Hold on, let me see if I can. It's the dude that shares my name.
Wait, why are you showing him but not showing yourself?
Well, because if I get in the way, then you won't see him. But that's the other dude who shares my name.
The whole thing is like, I want to show you this dude. That's really funny. I mean, listen, man, thanks for sharing that. That is kind of wild, I have to admit.
It is, and like I said, man, if you heard the whole story, it just gets weirder and
weirder. The world is filled with these things. Everybody are laughing. This is great. I mean, thank you for sharing. Yeah, the short response to that is that I mean, if you want to play, the steel manning the other side of the argument, I mean, that doesn't necessarily necessitate the simulation, because you can say in an infinite universe you would have like very rare cases happen. But yeah, this would easily be explained by the fact that there's these interconnections that are trying to kind of manifest themselves. Usually it's because it's trying to kind of show something or lead you towards an understanding. Did you ever think about what it might be, or you never thought about that?
Like what it might be trying to teach me or something?
Yeah, what is this connection about? Or is it something that has to do with the consumption of the substance or anything like that?
Yeah, more thought into like not so much this. I quit that many years ago. Thankfully, it was a 1 year, one and done thing. But he says, "You making a movie, bro?" And I got more lost into like, who is this guy? I mean, the chances of sharing your name with only one other person when your name is Justin.
Again, I don't know. I don't know if that necessarily is the crazy part. The crazy part is that
Hear me out. It's
Yeah.
the list of them, right? That's weird. But then to also share the same birthday, to the
Yeah.
year and to the day.
To the day.
Very weird.
Well, almost to the
happen
day,
to
but
live
still, yeah.
in the same city, extra weird. To be addicted to or have prescribed the exact same substance on top of that.
And then asking
is-
for it and getting a text about it 30 minutes later. I mean, that one is wild.
Dude, it's just the fakest thing that's ever happened to me in real life. It is.
That is wild. I'm not gonna lie. And Nico saying
I talked to people about it before I found his picture and finally found the dude and who he was and all that. I mean, I was losing my damn mind over here. I'm like, is this like a clone of me or like some time traveling version of me or something? Like,
I forget what comedian said it, but there was something. There was a whole bit about like, you know, when you like walk around in the day and you see somebody, and then you see that same somebody like 2 hours later, and you don't know them. It's almost like God is running out of extras.
they were just determined to get me that prescription, even if it meant phasing someone into my reality from a different one.
Wait, so you never got the prescription because it would be a federal offense, basically? So you didn't want to risk it?
Exactly. And honestly, in my little addict mind back in the day, that's half the reason I was asking what the birthday was because I know what questions they ask you when you pull up. They say, what's your birthday and your address? So
yeah,
I was like, if I can get the birthday, you know, and then I was just like,
maybe that's why you haven't really gotten to the bottom of it, because maybe you just passed the test. Maybe the test was to see if you're gonna do some, you know, if you're gonna pull a fast one, or you actually gonna kind of ask the authorities what's going on. Maybe that was the test.
The whole thing was crazy, man. I texted that guy too. I texted the other Justin. He pretended that he wasn't him.
Wait, what? Okay, that part is weird.
I got his phone number from my mom. Long story, but she was able to find this dude's phone number. I'm all excited.
Yeah, somebody's asking on YouTube if it's if you think it might be a case of identity theft.
Well, that's what I thought for a while until I got to the point where there's so many layers to this story that I just said. I ended up in the area, because I live hours away now, but I ended up in the area where he went to high school. And that's the only thing I know about this guy is his name and the high school he went to. That's it. So I ended up going to this town library, pulling 4 years of yearbooks, found his senior photo, found his picture with my name underneath it. And I mean, you guys saw the picture. There's no way this guy and like, there's high school records of him from 2008. So yeah. I don't think it's identity. I know it's not identity.
So wait, so did you ever manage to contact him or no?
Yes, I got his phone number. I called him. It went to voice. Okay, this is where the story gets so crazy that I tend to not tell people because they think I'm lying, because it gets so outrageous. I called him. It went to voicemail, and his voicemail sounded so much like me, I about dropped my fucking phone when I heard it. I had my best friend come into my house on his way. So 5 minutes later, I'm like, dude, he knows the whole story. I'm like, you got to hear this. He's jumping up and down like a little girl giggling in the corner of my room, losing his. He's like, dude, what? Have you texted him? He's got all these questions. I'm like, I haven't. He's like, well, maybe his phone's on Do Not Disturb. Why don't you text him? Keep in mind, his voicemail says, hey, this is Justin. Leave a message. So I know it's him.
Mm-hmm.
I text him. I said, Justin? He said, who's this? I said, hey, man, I know this is super random, but this is
Justin,
the one other Justin Blank in the whole country. And I also happen to live in Boston, same as you. I've had some funny stories over the years having the same name and living in the same city. Just thought it would be cool to reach out. I didn't get into the bananas and the birthdays and all the crazy coincidences. I was like, this dude's not online, point blank, period, any social media. So clearly, at 32, you should be somewhere. So I'm like, this guy's clearly very private. I kind of felt like I was walking on eggshells. So I'm like, I'm going to keep this short and simple and sweet, not weird into the fucking conspiracy crap. And so I said, you know, blah, blah, blah. He said, how'd you get my number? I said,
a pharmacist gave it to me.
I told him straight up. I said, I hope I'm not intruding. Blah, blah, blah. He said, sorry, that's not me. You got the wrong info. proceeds to change his voicemail to an automated voice messaging system.
Wow. So maybe he is, some kind of a something that it doesn't want to be found out. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what always bugged me out about him until I got the picture from the yearbook. Where I was like, why is this dude moving in such a way that it seems like he knows like something, like he's off the grid?
Yeah. Well, it might be that it is somebody who steals identities. By the way, so it's like that's why he was like weirded out, because like, oh, okay, and then maybe, yeah, and then he like went to a different identity or something. I don't know. Very possible, but still, I mean, even if it is exactly what you think it is, I'm not gonna say it's not crazy. It's a great and awesome story, and crazy one. But I can't say I wouldn't be surprised, because I know of a lot of cases of people kind of experiencing these. One case I remember very long ago. Where did I hear this story? Oh, it was I think Sam Harris was telling it in some podcast. And basically, what happened there in a nutshell is that apparently it's a real story. And basically, this guy, his girlfriend breaks up with him in high school, heartbroken, that whole story. And at that age, you're like, love is everything, right? So then she breaks up with him, and then for the summer she goes to Europe for a Europe trip just by herself after she broke up with him. He said, "You know what? It's not over. I'm just gonna make an effort. I'm just gonna go to Europe." If I remember correctly, he maybe knew what country she went to, or maybe not even that. I don't remember that part of the story. Let's say he knew the country she went to. I don't remember that part. Maybe he didn't know that either. So he just bought a random ticket to somewhere in Europe. Goes to the place. Again, this is a true story. So then he goes, does the whole thing, looks for her for a few days, can't really find her, obviously. He was in London or Paris somewhere, but some tourists stopped and asked him to take a picture of them. So he takes the camera, about to take their picture. His then ex-girlfriend walks into frame where he's taking the picture with them. And they got back together. That was like a. So I think the context in which Sam was telling the story, he was saying, I mean, this is wild, right? But things like this happen. Like it's just one of these things. I don't think it's a satisfactory explanation. I think it requires a much deeper analysis of what cases like these might entail. But I wouldn't be surprised, because I've also experienced like insane things like this. But every time you hear one, you're like, "Yep, there it is. There's another one." And so this one definitely belongs in the category of wild stories. That is kind of crazy. I would say even if it is somebody who tried to steal your identity, it's still kind of awesome and wild. But if he wasn't, then it's a whole other level of crazy.
I'm very on top of my credit and my financial life and all that, and like never once in my entire life has anything. I haven't even had a false charge to a bank account.
What they usually do, so I don't know if that means that necessarily one or the other. It can still absolutely be everything you're saying. But just so you know that in general, from what I understand, the way it's done is that they collect a bunch of them, and then they don't do anything with them until the moment is right or whatever. And then they do like some tests. They would like use certain credit cards for like a small amount of money or something. I've had this happen to me one time, and then it never. I had the Legal Shield back then, and they had like activated the thing, and then I think I don't remember how they resolved it, but there's like a thing that there's a protocol they go through. Mm-hmm. But from what I understand, that's what they do. They hoard identities. They don't have one, and then they activate it according to the thing. So it might be you just sitting on it, or it's exactly what you're saying. And I wouldn't pass reality. I wouldn't pass it by reality of doing exactly that, which is kind of crazy and wild. And
give me 1 second. I just gotta pull this pizza out of the oven. I don't want to crinkle tinfoil on everyone's ear, but I want to say one more thing.
Sure. While you do that, I'll answer a couple of questions and come back and then tell us more. Yeah, that is a cool story. I like it. Thank you so much for the gifts, by the way, Nico and Evil Icon. I appreciate you guys. Charlie, to your question, your intent was to find a way to prove hyperspace is real. Now that you have accomplished that goal with the core, what is your new intent? I think you said this yesterday or the day or in our members live, and my aim, the short answer is, I think that trying to unify humanity around a common goal would be a nice thing to achieve throughout the life. Go ahead, brother.
I wanted to ask if it was okay if I shared one more story. When I say it's literally a minute, it's nothing
Sure,
like the
sure,
last
go
story.
ahead.
I just told you, I promise you it's quick, but it's one more mind-blowing simulation type of that's funny, she just said Nico and I'm about to tell this story. That's so weird. Okay, so we just got something in the chat that adds on to this story, so now I need to tell it because
Sure.
the dude's name is Nico.
Nice. We have another Nico.
So same girlfriend I was telling you about from years ago.
Uh-huh.
I kept having premonition dreams where it would come true the next day, but never anything significant. I'm talking the end of a Hobbit movie type of like, that was one of the things that happened. And my girlfriend, I was telling her, like, mind blown by it. She goes, Justin, listen, I believe you, but it's hard to believe that you dreamt the end of the Hobbit movie last night before you went and saw it in person. Like, you need to tell me your dream when you wake up. Amazing. And then when it comes true, I'll believe you. So I said, okay. So I woke up that next morning and my dream had the same vibe to it as the other nights. And so I told her the dream, and the dream was, in the dream, we're waking up in bed. And for whatever reason, her ex-boyfriend, who was someone I knew, this kid, Nico, had spent the night. But he sounded, sorry, I was just reading her thing. He laid on the floor on one side of the bed, but then on the other side of the bed on the floor was this guy, Mike. Mike and Nico were best friends. And I'm like...
Wait, is this a prison story?
Yeah, okay. I know, right? And so my girlfriend in the dream, obviously, proceeds to get up out of bed and she tries on a thong in front of them. And it's a Superman thong, right? All blue with the little S symbol, you know, right in the middle, down low. And I get all pissed off in the dream that she just did that in front of these other guys, right? And then I wake up. That's the whole dream. Mm-hmm. And so I tell her, and she burst out laughing. She's like, I don't know how that's going to come true, Justin. I haven't even heard from Nico in like 9 months. I haven't talked to him in over a year. And he lives 2 hours away. But I don't know how that's going to come true. I said, well, I hope it doesn't, but I'm just telling you the dream. So we're laying in bed, right? We hadn't even got coffee or nothing. And she gets on Snapchat. Nico had posted a Snapchat story. She clicks on it. It's a picture of him in his car. But he just so happens to be in the town that we live in, 2 hours away. He's in our town with the name filter at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And he's wearing a Superman t-shirt. And she shoves her phone in my face. She's like, dude, what the fuck? You know? And she hits him up. She goes, what are you doing in my town? Because she's just like, I got to know. And he hits her back. He said, your town, LOL. Well, Mike just moved to your town, and I'm here to help him move in. So I guess he would be there. He would be there with Mike, and that he was wearing a Superman t-shirt, but it was spun in some weird ass way in my dream. You one more crazy simulation shit that I've experienced where it makes you question what reality really is when you have prophetic dreams, 3 or 4 nights in a row. You're like, all right.
Well, the question is, are you this master manifester? And can you potentially utilize this? When was the last time you had like an experience like this?
Like,
yeah.
I've been having a whole different spree of spiritual shit happen to me. That's kind of moved away from like.
You disappeared on us again.
Hello?
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a phone call. Sure. I've had a lot of spiritual stuff happen in the last couple years.
What's up, Ben?
But I haven't had anything quite as remarkable as those stories happen. No.
It was in the same. Nico said you missed the punchline. Is that the postulation was about him, and he appeared basically also with the Superman shirt. That was
he appeared in the town with the same person that was also in the dream in the Superman t-shirt. Same morning.
Yeah, see, this is the problem with substantiating this or making this impactful for people, because unless people have seen it themselves before, it's kind of easy to just brush it off as well. Somebody, even if they believe you, it's like, okay, well, but I don't know if you really had that dream exactly like that. You know what I mean? That's what I found. Like when I tell people about my synchronicity story, it's usually very underwhelming, and I think it's because people weren't there, right? They didn't really experience the set of events exactly how it happened. But I know what it feels like to have these moments, so I'm with you. I mean these moments are very profound when they happen to you, and I don't know how to make it more salient for people that never experienced something like this. Maybe it's like in a way, like thinking about how it might imply them, even if it had never happened to them. So, like, what does that mean about reality, and what possibilities does it open for them to potentially experience these things? One of the things that actually Nico here told me, and I was kind of repeating this. I don't know if you heard me talk about it, but basically, it's this very simple practice where that anybody can do, and I guess it's worth reiterating because anybody can try this. It's very simple. You basically, before you do something simple, like go to the store or to the bank or whatever, you sit down for 2 seconds and you close your eyes, and then you basically just imagine yourself, let's say in the bank, doing whatever you got to do, and you're just imagining yourself exactly what you're wearing and everything, and you know you're going to be there in 10 minutes, so it shouldn't be like crazy elaborate in the beginning. So it's pretty, you know, it's what's going to happen, you know that. So you just imagine yourself with your clothes, and you just go and you imagine yourself being in the bank, and then you say to yourself, please bring me there safely. Okay. Then you go to the bank. While you're doing the thing you imagine yourself doing, obviously you don't have to close your eyes so it doesn't look weird, but you can just kind of project yourself in your mind's eye back to the couch where you were sitting. Imagine yourself there with everything you were wearing, which is probably the same thing, and then say, "Thank you for bringing me here safely." So it's almost like you communicate to yourself through time. Now, depending on your frame of reference about reality, you can say, "Well, what do you mean? Like, you just imagined it, and now you remember the past. So what's the big deal?" Well, what's interesting about this experiment is that if it is true that we can basically communicate to ourselves through different points of time and like manifest, because you basically manifested yourself in the bank, if you want to look at it that way, right? It's just that you did it many times before, so there's nothing unique about it. What people mean by manifest is something surprising or something that never happens or something that rarely happens, right? So if you can establish this kind of attention, it's almost like you're telling the universe, I get it. I know how this works. I understand what it really is, right? And if it is true that in fact this is what's going on, then what should start happening, this is the postulation here, is that you will see a huge uptake in synchronicities and coincidences and things like this, like a major one. And then you can start playing with like things that are a little bit more outside of the bound of what you would expect. So next time you go into the bank or to the store, you do the same thing. And now, in addition to what you know will happen, which is you buying something, you also imagine something that maybe not that likely to happen. Maybe you'll see, some woman walking around with a hat with a Tweety bird in it, or some weird purple feather of some sort, something that you don't usually see, right? And then if you go to the store and all of a sudden somebody is even having has like a any item of clothing that is like closely related to the purple you imagined, like maybe a handkerchief or something, but it's like it really stands out. Even if it's not exactly the item you imagined, you can go like, yo, okay, and now obviously
come through for me like fully exactly like in dreams or thoughts that have like I've manifested stuff awake. They never come to me exactly as you picture them in your head. It's like a spin on, you know.
right, but the other side of it is that you also have to be, not you, but like anybody who's trying it, you also have to be fair. It's not like if you're going to be then driving and you see some kind of a paper on the road that is that color, I mean that doesn't count. Okay, like it has to be something in the vicinity of what you actually, but the claim is you can practice, so you can do this more and more and more, and the more you practice, the more it fits more of what you actually, so it becomes more what you imagine. Because I do know people that do this intentionally. I've heard some wild stories from people that I have no reason to doubt what they're saying, that they practice this to such an extent that they can literally manifest like a super non-likely thing to happen, but they can make it happen, and it's more than just what they aim for. It's just kind of things fall into place in the way that they expect it, so to speak.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I gotta try and do it on purpose because I've done it by accident so many times.
try it like what I just said, because it's very easy to do, right? And it is. There's something really fun about that game. And then I met somebody and they gave me $1 million.
I'll
That's,
tell you, there was a week where I spoke a brand new, nice bicycle into my life. This is when I was younger. A very large bag of oregano and also $40 cash into my life. This is when I was like 18 years old. Back to back to back nights. And I didn't mean to. Me and my friend were drunk. Oh, crap. I'm sorry. Walking home from being out downtown one night, and we were just telling stories. Oh, this one time I walked home, I found money. Oh, this one time I walked home, I found a bag of oregano. And we were just like, man, I wish that was tonight. Well, we made it like $3, dude, and $40 blew into our toes. We were so pumped. And it was the windiest. I'm sorry, man. I've gotten 3 phone calls since I've joined, so I probably should go take this, but I'm following you, Doug. If I hop back on later and I'm bored, I'll request.
You're awesome, brother. Go eat the pizza. It sounds awesome.
I appreciate you guys hearing me out.
You too, brother. Talk soon.
Later.
3 more oregano. What's up, Val? That was fun. That was cool. Becoming synchronized to it is literally what synchronicity is. Yep, that's a really good way of putting it. If you want to enter your dream, check the light switch. Yeah, I've also seen Waking Life. Great film. There was some questions here that I wanted to address. Let's see. There was some question about. Let me see. The right sky without any bodily sensation, focusing on the star, waking up into lucid dream. Yeah, so all of these kind of, what's his name, Demarius. But yeah, that one, I've heard from a friend that he tried it and it worked for him. Starbees, man, what does that mean? Nico, you're really funny today. So there was some questions about diffraction here. What is that? I think it was specifically about. What is that? Hold on. Oh, I'm like, what is that? That is so funny. I hear these like weird scratches on the windows. I'm like, what is that? And apparently it's these spring bugs on the outside, little beetles, and they're just trying to come into the window because of the light. That is so funny. Let me find that question. So there was some questions about da, 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 any point of anyone when observing the code that portions you could understand, translate. No, because we don't even know if it's a language, but that's a good question. Big fan. I loved it when you ran around with Scooby and did stuff. Haha. Good zinger. So this is, when was this question asked? Can't really find it anymore. Maybe it was way before. Oh, Charlie's question about strobe light with laser light to slow down the code. You just have to. I have actually never done it, but if you use a strobe light, the assumption is that you'll be able to freeze the code if you find the right frame. So you just need the strobe light to be in the back, and then strobe it, and then play with the frequency until you get to a point where you see the code completely slowing or stopping. Cosmito is good. Cosmito is now healing and everything. They sent us an update video. We're picking him up on Thursday. Very excited to see how he did. Cosmito. There needs to be a documentary about this with all the relevant information. Well, we're working on it. We are working on it. Point of anyone observing the code. There was portions you could understand. We read that. Well, I can't really find the question, I guess. Was wondering, these symbols you see resemble those of the mysterious Voynich manuscripts. Are you familiar with that? There's so many things. Voynich script. It's kind of hard to know. No, it does not look like that at all. I hope the tariffs don't affect the price of your laser. What if Trump extends the tariffs to hyperspace? Do you think the aliens are going to be pissed off? You can't. You know what Nico said? Babe, Nico said, you can't remove chaos from the agent of chaos. That is very funny. Hopefully, you're wrong. We have a very strong zapper. And if not, there's always cutting his balls, you know. There's always that. Elven language. What's up, Val? Good to see you. Oh yeah, there was a question about prisms, right, Def? Thank you. Prisms won't do much with a laser because it's already separated. It's already one coherent light. Not sure what the. I mean, everything should be tested, and I encourage anybody who wants to test it. But I don't know how much prism would make a difference because a prism is splitting light, but laser is already a split light. Nothing would surprise me at this point that he does. You know what? Me neither. Ebony's asking if I tried reversing the code using reflection of mirror. I think Charlie asked this. Yes, this was asked before. No, because I've never tried to look at the laser from a mirror for the simple reason that I don't want a laser light directly in my eye. Maybe there's a way to look at it from the side, maybe, and diffuse it a little bit. But the short answer is no, simply because I don't want a laser to hit my eye. Do you mean it's already one light without perception or with the best perception? Well, no, the definition of a laser is that it's a coherent light, so there's only one frequency there. What a prism would do, it would split the different frequencies from one another, but the laser is already that. So it's not really going to do anything to it. It would be cool if an electronic music performer used the diffracted laser in their light show. That would be cool, especially if some people on the molecule in the crowd. UFOs split light too when they beam orange pulses type scenario. Been testing mirror. I did a split and got a soiree instead of a line. That's a beautiful word. Do not reflect the laser in the mirror. Use the mirror to see the reflection of the code. Again, I'm not sure how you're going to do that without getting the light in your eye. It would be good to have an artist interpret what they see visually in the experience. We have all of that on. We have a few of those attempts, including by Ebony, on Discord. Oh, shining the mirror onto a wall. Got it. Got it. Got it. But then you would still have the light inside of that other wall. So if you're gonna show a light, it's worth trying, of course. But if you're gonna be having light bouncing off, the thing you're gonna see is the latest thing it touched. So the reflection of the second wall is still the reflection of the second wall, even if it came from the laser. I don't know how much of the information would remain from bouncing off the mirror. But again, worth trying for sure. Is there a special camera that could look at the laser to see the code? Working on that. David Carter is working on that. At the moment, it seems that only our brains are capable. Does the laser have heat-cold properties? What do you mean by that, Val? Sounds to me that people are into the infinity mirror effect. Absolutely. Who isn't? Everybody said that. I wouldn't recommend. What about the plasma what? Not quite sure what you guys are referring to. Yesterday we had a really good breakdown of quaternions. Oh, Nico, you would have enjoyed that one. That would have been great to have you with us for that chat yesterday. We were having a members chat. We were breaking down a whole video about quaternions by 3 Blue 1 Brown. It was glorious. Oh, you were there last night. Towards are sacred. Basically, yeah. That effect that first time when I was a kid, fully geeked out. Which effect specifically? So fucking said, I was there but not present. Thank you for saying it was a rad chat. Laser making plasma from the air as it shines through. I don't think that happens unless you introduce very specific conditions. I think you can make plasma with lasers, but you have to engineer a very particular instance of collision and very hot lasers. Infinity effect coffee table. Yeah, I had a friend who did that. Can other entheogens be used to use this? Mushrooms? Yes. So mushrooms would work. Aya would work. We know now that 5 works as well. Can I please explain? Wait, why is everything jumping? Is your nonprofit research lab going? Well, we're working on, now we officially looking for a spot to also have like a location where we can do this stuff. But the nonprofit is also on the way. There's a lot of things that goes into, officiating something as a nonprofit. Working on it. Can I explain how the entities adjust your chakra system? I have no idea. I know some people talk about that, but I don't know anything about that. Chop the puss. Dark spots are darker, dim is brighter. I don't know what you guys are saying, sorry. I'm really trying, but I don't know what that means. Can get my head around why there is the mechanical elements to the molecule visuals, because the world is ultimately mechanical, which makes a lot of people uncomfortable, but it is the case. Salvia, I haven't tried and also wouldn't recommend. I'm not a big fan of this molecule. Have you developed the cities? I would say maybe some. maybe gifts, definitely not cities. Are you claiming that you think you've developed the cities? I don't think anybody on this planet developed the cities. I think even Richard Rod would say the same thing, that nobody on the planet at the moment has any city, because these are divine qualities. Yeah, Lucia Light, I've heard of it. It sounds very fascinating, actually. With K, I haven't tried it with pure K, so I don't know. But again, anybody's welcome to try. Nonprofits are tough. That is correct. Chris is saying, wait, where's your message? How can a person obtain this specific type of laser? We have the full list on the website that you see listed on the page, codeofreality.com. Canadian, yes, it seems like the code is on everything that the laser is pointed at. Yes. How can you tell that the mates beings are machines? The mates beings? You mean in hyperspace? There's a quality to it. It's what you would expect a machine to be doing. But again, it means we are too. So we are machines. But not in the sense of like a soulless thing. I think it's just that the semantics here really matter. So like you are a machine in any definition of the word machine, aside from the one in which people believe that a machine necessarily means it's like this like infinitely soulless thing, you know? I don't think that's what it means. It's just that the definition of these things needs to expand a little. But we are without a doubt machines, both in terms of your biological structure and your mind and everything else. Was interview talking about the chakras and the molecule. I think the guy was explaining how it was necessary, a healing step to this recalibrate them before they could pass through. Very possible. I'm very open to that. And yes, please check out our Discord. Would love to see you there. We have a great community. Best explanation of defining the things. We only recognize thrift pattern expression. There's a quality to it. Yes, indeed. Oh, Camebella, how are you? Saw you on Eddie Bravo show. Great episode. Thank you so much, Irving. Appreciate you. I thought you meant the mantis beings in hyperspace are robotic. The insectoids are robotic, but ultimately it's all. I guess again, I don't really, I don't care for these definitions because they don't really tell us anything. So, for example, if you know that in hyperspace you have these things that look more mechanical and then things that look more fluid or spiritual, does that mean, does that tell you anything about the nature of the larger scale of reality? No, it makes no difference whatsoever. In an infinite reality, you're going to have all of these possibilities and more. And these details don't really tell you anything of substance. It doesn't really tell you anything. Like focusing on these things to me is kind of a, I don't know, it's just the wrong question. It's the wrong emphasis, right? It doesn't really matter. Like you visit a world, it is what it is under its own regulations and rules of operation, and you absorb it for what it is. You accept it for what it is. And we are of a certain nature, but ultimately, it's all the technical aspect of it throughout the entire existence. It all has some chain of causation. In that sense, it's all a machine, right? But it's not a machine in the old sense where people kind of think about it in terms of, you can call it just as much, you can call it the spiritual ascension levels. It doesn't matter, but it does have a technical component to it. Like things are a certain way under certain conditions, and the different levels influence one another in certain ways that obey certain rules. So you can call it whatever you want, but that's the nature of it. What's up, Gloomy? Is there a sound equivalent of the code, like by listening ultrasound or something? Good question. You can actually hear what you're hearing in, what when you observing the code. You can actually play a frequency like 42 hertz or 100 hertz in your headphones, and you will hear the space inside the laser, which is this is a good question. I'm really in that. So obviously, I know that's not how you're asking it, Charlie. I understand that your questions lead to like a deeper understanding, and I appreciate your questions. They're very good questions. But my general approach to these things is kind of along the lines of what Terrence used to say about this stuff, which is that people, he said people always, they visited it a couple of times, they always go, the shapes and the colors, the colors. He says, forget the colors, malarkey. It's not about the colors. It's about what are you looking at? What is it? Right? It's what it's telling you about the whole thing. And I feel like if we just focus on like what is their physical representation, even if in fact this is their representation, I don't know how much information it gives you. It's not the question. The question is, what is the relationship here? What is being done? What is the operation that is being performed? How are you relating to that operation? What is our role in that schema? I think these are more important questions, and those are the ones that I tend to focus on. And ultimately, I'm actually working right now on a little piece that I'm trying to figure out how to approach, because it's a very, honestly, it's way more complex than I thought it would be, which it tends to be that way when you start thinking deeply about something. But I started writing a piece, and I'm gonna make a video and maybe even a series of lessons that I'm gonna help people kind of like think about, how to think about these things. What I've noticed, because now there's so much misinformation about so many different things, and people are so convinced of their positions. If you are in the position of knowing that somebody is absolutely wrong about something just because you have first person experience with something and they just heard about it online, and you can see how convinced they are about what they're saying, that shows me that there's a deep need for this discernment factor that somehow has been drained from the picture. People don't know how to discern anymore because they drown in information all the time. And if you've never touched ground, so to speak, if you've never visited the world that didn't have these factors, so in other words, if you were born already into a world that always had the internet, I feel like people are having a really hard time making sense of things, or even realizing that there's bottom truth to things, right? So I'm working on a piece that would emphasize understanding and knowledge. What is that? What does it mean to understand something, right? And there's something there that I think is very substantial, because essentially what it comes down to is that you have enough of an experience of something on a regular basis that you absorb the entire essence of that thing in such a way that it's almost like you download the essential operational components of whatever that thing is. And if you have that on board, it's much easier to then discern certain particular claims about that thing. So, for example, if you have, I'll also connect it to what we're talking about here about hyperspace and all of that. But so, for example, if you have a really good friend, right? And so you know that person well, you've known them for 20 years, 10 years, whatever, and you spend a lot of time with them, let's say. There's a certain generality about their behavior, their character, which you can call their essence, that would contain certain possibilities and less of possibility of other kinds of possibilities. So, for example, if somebody is extremely honest, sometimes to their own detriment, like they're just like very straightforward, and all of a sudden somebody tells you a story about them and they say, they really lied to me about this and that, and then you're like, that's not my impression of them in general, right? So if they're doing that, something either here is off or you're confused, right? But what happened here is that you're comparing what you've been told specifically about an instance with that person to the generality of their operation that you know about, which you call their character. It doesn't match their character, right? And everything has this essential component of operation and what it is. And the totality of these things, if anybody can ever experience the totality of that essence, then you would ultimately know what that thing is. And the ultimate version of that is obviously God, or whatever you want to call as the source. So to what degree do you know God? To what degree do you understand what that is, right? And that has to inform you only through your interaction and experience with it. Now, obviously, this is a very contentious subject because some people don't even believe that that's a thing. How do you even begin to interact with that kind of a thing? But it always ultimately rests on experience. So I'm trying to approach this in that sense, which is the way that I always approached hyperspace is I've never I- I've never been tempted to overlay what I think it is on it. So I was very neutral every time I went in there. People would always, make all these claims about, machine elves and beings that they would meet, and they would make words and also make claims about what they think they are. And I never felt the temptation to do that. So every time I would see something, I'll be like, oh, interesting. Okay. I can see how somebody would think this is like a machine elf. But I tried to look beyond their definition. I tried to look like, what are you really? What are you really? Like, what is it here? And you can only do that by observing them carefully without your definitions about them. And that seems to be a thing that people are having a hard time doing. And what I'm hearing very often in these very superficial questions about, are they mechanical? Are they spiritual? Are they this? Are they that? It's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You just observe. Just allow it to inform you by being in its presence, whatever it is. And by the way, the same goes for people, the same goes for events, the same goes for everything you're hearing. And it always has to be, if you want to claim understanding of something, it can never, ever, ever be, ever, as a third, like as a step removed account of something. You can never truly know something if you read a lot about it. Never. Because whenever somebody else writes about something, first of all, they can't possibly communicate all the possible information there, combined with the fact that they have their own biases through which they perceive that thing. So they're gonna, and on top of that, they have to, only give you a certain limited information to put in a book or in an article. So they will obviously not only communicate their biases, but they will also communicate only the things that they are emphasized for them according to their worldview. So the only way to truly know something is to experience it firsthand for long periods of time, and then you can form a real notion of what it is, and you can start comparing it to all the other accounts and all the other thoughts that you might have about it. And what I'm always trying to encourage is people do more of that. And it's true that if you go about it this way, there's less to talk about, because the things that are easiest to talk about are the things on the surface. The things that are deeper, they're much harder to talk about and express. But this is maybe why doing some work and distilling the essence behind the general behavior, operation, and essence of these things that somehow relates to everything else. Somehow it is part of the universal code of what's going on. That is the substance. That is the thing that we want to focus on in general, which, by the way, will remedy a lot of issues, even in everything you see, in the political sphere, all of these crazy slanders and throwing hate towards one another. This person is this person is that, they're evil, they're doing this. Unless you have a first person experience and the charity of allowing, and by the way, this, I see this across the board. I see this, I'm not even talking about a particular predispensation now. Literally everybody are doing this. Like literally everybody are just saying the worst in everybody else. um I would love to see more charity towards the fact that most people mean well, right? So you pick the big name person, doesn't really matter who that is. There's always a way to categorize, to characterize them as something that is like inject all kinds of ideas about where they're coming from, where it's like, oh, they're doing this because they're trying to, like, it's this like very, very ugly way of portraying them, versus, okay, they're trying to do this, they might be confused about certain things, but that's what they're trying to do, right? And then they're just human just like you. And that kind of charity, that kind of grace that we can give one another, I think will open a window for a much healthier interaction. And I would extend that to hyperspace, because people have all these ideas about what these things are. And Charlie, I think this is the first time you've ever seen me go into one of these rants in directions that you probably didn't even intend, but I just kind of used your comment as a stepping stool to jump into my own infinity. So I don't necessarily think that you meant to say anything in either for, against, or in an orthogonal direction from what I was just saying, but I just used your comment as a jumping point. So don't think that you need to respond to any of this. But I think these points are important. I'm really trying to encourage more of the just allow things to be what they are. Don't try and constantly impose what you think it is. It's angels. No, it's not. You don't know what that means. I'm not talking to you, Charlie. I'm just talking in general, right? No, no, it's not. Like, you don't know what these words mean. It's allow it to be what it is, so you get to experience what it really is. Both mechanical and spiritual, because of the transhumanism in inevitability. Very Buddhist approach of looking beyond the hallucination. Yep. And maybe it is the reason that I'm shown what I'm being shown. I would agree with that. You should title a piece "Touch Grass." Nice. I'm calling the piece "The Art of Misunderstanding" for now. Yeah, I'm thinking about dropping it in Substack. Let's see. The video where two people climbing on the window. Yeah, that's a famous one.
Hello.
So, how are you, Cammy Bell?
Yeah, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to have you with me.
Yeah, thanks for bringing me up.
Sure thing. What's good?
Not much. So I will admit, most of what you say goes over my head, but I enjoy it nonetheless. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. At least maybe the sound of my voice does something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I
Also,
mean, I kind of understand a bit of what's going on, but I'm not. Yeah, I don't have much knowledge on it all.
what is your?
It's very interesting. It's very interesting to me what it is that you guys are doing.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you always joining and always contributing, and your generosity. Always fun to see you come on. How do you pronounce your handle? I never know how to say it correctly.
Cammy Bell.
Cammy Bell. I always say
Yeah.
Belle because it has the E at the
Yeah.
end, but obviously it's in pronounced. But I always think it's like
I
Italian or something.
actually enjoy the way that you say
Yeah,
it.
Cammy Bell is good.
Kind of has a little flair to it.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for the gift of a like, and I appreciate you. Well, I'm glad that you're always joining. Feel free to stick around and throw some comments if you feel like you have something to say. And if not, we can just hang and keep answering questions.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. What do you think about the theory that the universe and the dimensions are all fractal? Yeah, I think it basically tracks reality, I would say. We are discussing the simulation. Mo, thank you for asking. Boom. My favorite. This cat is great. Let's see some of the comments on YouTube. Don't believe in God, source creator, unless nuances what they're observing, or is God's creator simply showing itself? See, the thing is that for me, the true glory of whatever is out there, whatever is beyond, whatever is here, whatever is this, the true glory of it is so much more profound and amazing than anything we can ever say about it. And yes, I'm obviously in the business of saying things about things, but if we have the chance, at least giving it the, I don't know what would be the right word, but I guess giving it the respect of not just jumping to the first thing that we know culturally, like a concept that we made up culturally, right? So I think that like saying the word God is almost disrespectful if you are trying to refer to the God, right? Because whatever that is, like if you really ask yourself, what is it? I mean, truly, if you really ask that question genuinely, I don't think it can do anything else but blow your mind, like what it can really be, right? But people kind of stop at this conceptual level where they're like, oh, it's a thing, it's Jesus, it's this. But imagine like coming in the face of that, or like truly being in the presence of something like that. Oh my God, right? It's like that's the thing that I think would be more interesting than just kind of the small descriptive moments that we're trying to overlay on top of it. See all the stuff about frequencies. Kali was made of steak for my guy. Wait, what? Kali was made of steak for my guy when her arms churning like gears. That sounds intense. So frequency here, code. No specific frequencies. I think it can be any random frequency. 42, 100 is fine. I think a lot of them would work. There's nothing magical about any particular frequency. I know a lot of people think that, and I'm sure that there are differences in terms of harmonies, but frequencies, some of them might invoke certain things. I would agree with that, but overall, there's a very large gamut of frequencies you can do for certain things. Do not have the same sense. Okay. All right, guys. I think for today I'm gonna have to adjourn slowly, just because it's trying to keep these nights a little, trying to end these nights a little earlier. I appreciate you all. Kami Bell, thank you for coming on. Evil Icon, Nico, I love you guys.
Yeah, thank you for having me up.
Absolutely.
See you next time.
See you next time. And yeah, guys, I appreciate Johnny. Thank you for everybody for being part of the community. If you want to follow me across platforms, it'll be Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. It'll be Goller Danny on X, LaserX83 on Twitch, and Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube. Come join our members program, because it includes weekly lives in which we break down videos. It includes early access to all my content, Zoom calls with me, and from the second tier and up once a month, and private stuff for my life that will only exist on YouTube members. So come and join that. Thank you, Kami Bell, for the gifts. I appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for the team, for the community, for everybody who making this thing what it is. Val, love you. Great, always good to have you here. Guru, love you, brother. Thank you so much. Charlie, appreciate you. Sofa King Terry, love you, brother. Ebony, who else is with us? Chris, of course. Bradley is not with us today. Love you, brother. David Carter, of course. Who am I forgetting here from our team? Jessica. I think that's the team, right? And thank you, everybody who are part of the community. I know that I can't name everybody, but I do appreciate the caliber of people that are always coming here and making this beautiful environment in which we can express ourselves, explore, and create new things together. Love you guys. Peace and love. See you tomorrow. Ciao. See you guys. Have a good night.